Remember in my Queensboro video when I stated how the Bills will most likely get their stadium deal done because they're the Bills, and besides the Yankees, they're probably the most prestigious professional sports franchise in the city? Well, that has come to fruition. And also in that Queensboro video, I also talked about the billionaire aspect and how the billionaire aspect of it would prevent the MLS and the NYCFC, the New York City Football Club, from getting a stadium in the Bronx or Queens that they wanted. But one thing that the NFL showed us and proved to me that such may not be the case. Such really may not be the case. Such doesn't have to be the case. The NFL have once again showed us that the unthinkable is possible. The NFL has showed us that not only the state is funding for a new for $1 billion Bill Stadium, but also the county. And now we're just sitting here wondering, or we're just like, wow, this actually went through. But do you know how the NFL was able to do it? The NFL did it in such a sophisticated way where a vote wasn't even taking place. People didn't even have the ability, the opportunity to vote on whether or not they wanted to fund this. Now, I don't know what kind of business you call this, but one thing I do know is that the NFL colluded the state, and if the MLS wants a stadium in New York City, they're going to have to follow suit. Because collusion was the only way the NFL was able to do this. This was the only way. Now, what is collusion? To collude means to cooperate in a secret or unlawful way in order to deceive or gain an advantage over others. Now, I don't know if the NFL did anything unlawful because I'm not familiar with New York laws. I don't know if the NFL deceived anybody because I'm not an insider on this Bills stadium deal. But one thing I do know that the NFL did within this collude definition is that they did cooperate in a secret way to gain advantage over local politicians, which prevented the citizens from having a vote on whether or not they pay for the $1 billion home for the Buffalo Bills. The thing I'm starting to realize about the NFL is that the National Football League is not a normal entertainment business. See, the NFL, they have people in position in high places and high authorities that we're not even aware of. And this is how they're able to do the things that they're able to do. The NFL has network connections, not only in this country, but probably the entire world. The NFL does not operate as a regular entertainment business. The NFL, they operate like Hollywood. I won't say it's empire, but I just can't really think of the word right now. But if you can think of a word, let me know in the comment section. What type of entity, what type of industry does the NFL operate as? Because they don't operate as a regular entertainment business. So you can help me out in the comment section because I can't think of the word right now. But one thing I do know that as a result of their collusion, the NFL had an advantage over the state of New York. There is nothing that any politician can do in New York to stop this stadium deal from happening. The NFL had an advantage over the state of New York through the Hochul family to get what they wanted. And here is how. William J. Hochul, the husband of Governor Kathy Hochul, is a federal prosecutor. Well, throughout most of his career, I don't know if he still is a federal prosecutor. If you're a New Yorker and you know more than I know, let me know in the comment section. But one thing I do know, I don't know if he is now, but one thing I do know, for For the most part of his career, he has been a federal prosecutor. In 2016, however, he was hired by Delaware North. Now, what is Delaware North? Delaware North is a global food service and hospitality company. It's something similar to Aramark. Like, have you ever traveled, like those of you who travel a lot, or you like been to like a public cafeteria, and you're familiar with the company Aramark. They're like a catering company, and they serve food and provide hospitality. I believe that Denver North is similar to that. It's a global food service and hospitality company. Now, hospitality, for those of you who don't know what hospitality is like a intermediary between the business and the customer. A hospitality company is to make sure you are satisfied. You got your proper food, like the proper food that you want to eat. You got like hotels, like you're satisfied in your hotels. Like hospitality provides food, hotels. That's what the hospitality industry is about. So Delaware North in general has been for years the intermediary between the Bills and Bills fans. And the reason why it's been like this because Delaware North has had a contract to provide concessions for Bills fans at their current stadium since 1992. This is the stadium that the Bills owners are saying it's too old, and they basically want a new stadium. Now, Mr. Hochul's job for Delaware North, his job was basically, he was the vice president, the senior vice president. I believe he still is the senior vice president. And his job is basically to manage the legal, regulatory, and the compliance matters. So in general, William Hochul is a career adjudicator. He has been working in the law field probably his entire career. And because Delaware North had a contractual right to provide, well, I believe they still do have a contractual right to provide concessions for Bills fans at the stadium, William Hochul immediately became a major player in this. There's a reason why I state that the NFL is not a regular entertainment company, that they have connections in high places of high power. It can't be by coincidence that Kathy Hochul took over as governor when Andrew Cuomo stepped down. When Andrew Cuomo resigned because of his allegations, his scandals. This can't be by coincidence that Kathy Hochul became governor. Because all of this is coming to fruition now. Because this is around the same time where the Bills was really making plans to build a new stadium. Like the NFL must have their own CIA agents. They must have their own FBI agents. When the NFL is getting ready to do something, it just seems like they take people out and put people in that they need to get what they want. The NFL used Kathy Hochul as governor of New York and her husband, William Hochul, senior vice president of a global concessions company, a global hospitality company, to be able to get what they want. They put those two forces together in order to negotiate a deal for a new stadium, bypassing other politicians and citizens so they won't be interfered with their plans. This is why I believe the NFL is not a normal entertainment company. They're not a normal entertainment business. They are much bigger than that. The NFL is on the same level as Amazon. The NFL is on the same level as Facebook. The NFL is an industry of its own. And the fact that they were able to get this $1 billion stadium deal without the people being able to vote on it, without local politicians having a say on whether or not their county will be taxed, proves this point. So now you look at the MLS. Now we look at the MLS and now we're saying, first we thought that we didn't think, look, I knew that the Bills was going to get their stadium deal because they're the Bills, but I didn't think it was going to be like this. I didn't think they were going to have to bypass the voters, the people's right to vote on it. I didn't think that they're going to be able to bypass local politicians having some time to debate on it and whether or not they're going to vote on it. This is a new definition of power move that the NFL is doing. So now we look at the MLS and we say the NFL was able to do the unthinkable. The Buffalo Bills in general was able to do the unthinkable in New York. They were able to do what the Giants and the Jets couldn't do. So now we look at Major League Soccer and an NYCFC team who wants a stadium and they don't want to go to New Jersey. They want that stadium to be in New York. They want it to be either in the Bronx or they want it to be in Queens. MLS, you have to learn from the NFL. In order for you to get what you want, you have to grow. You can't be viewed as just an entertainment company because right now you're just viewed as an entertainment company. The NFL has grown to a level where it's hard to fight against. You can't, when the NFL says they want something, you can't just tell them no and then expect them to turn their back and not do anything about it. That's the level that you're on, MLS. People can tell you no and then you just turn your back and walk away and don't do anything about it. The NFL has grown to a level where if somebody tells them no, they're like, okay, I'll just go talk to somebody else. And then they'll eventually come back to the person who told them no and say, this is what we're going to do, whether you like it or not. That's the power that the NFL has now. So MLS, how can you get to that level? Because it's just getting to a point where it's not about ethics. It's not about morals. It's not about the people. It's not about making sure people have a decent place to live. It's not about affordable anything. It's about the haves and the have-nots. And to be honest, it's not even about the have-nots anymore. It's about the haves. The haves, they're competing with each other and they're getting, and they're going after what they want by any means necessary. The NFL is among the haves who, when they see something they want, they go after it by any means necessary. And that's what the Bills did. So MLS, how can you get to that level? It is possible for you to get to that level, MLS, because you are the Bitcoin of American sports. Like, you are the Bitcoin. You're the future. As a matter of fact, NFL owners, they're starting to invest in your league because they know empires don't last forever. People are becoming more aware of the brain injuries, especially after what Antonio Brown did in that Jets game during the 2021 season. Like, the NFL is already dealing with their CTE controversy, CTE crisis before the Antonio Brown situation. However, before what Antonio Brown did in New Jersey, people only thought about CTE whenever an NFL player dies. After what Antonio Brown did in the media region, like in the media capital of the world, like the biggest media region of the world, now people are starting to think about CTE while the player is alive. Listen, after what Antonio Brown did, what he did when I was watching the game on the NFL Red Zone channel and I saw the highlight, the first thing I did was I went to Twitter because I wanted to see people's instant reaction. I wanted to see what people were saying. The only thing that people were talking about Well, the main thing that people was talking about was CTE. The conversation wasn't even about Antonio Brown. The conversation that dominated Twitter was CTE. So because of what Antonio Brown did, more people are more aware of CTE. As a result of that, the NFL stock is eventually going to take a hit. Eventually, it's going to decline as a result of people becoming more aware of brain injuries and the idea that people have that the NFL are not properly taking care of its players. So this is why you seeing a guy like David Tepper having an MLS team. This is why you see a guy like Arthur Blake. He has a MLS team. This is why you're going to see more NFL owners, if they don't start an MLS team, they're going to invest in one. They will get like a stake, a percentage. So MLS, you have to continue to enhance your relationship with the NFL. How will you, and how to do so? The first thing to do is do not schedule in-season games during NFL season. You don't want to be viewed as a competitor to the NFL. You want to be viewed as a partner to the NFL. So whenever the NFL is in their on-season mode, MLS, you have to be on off-season mode. That means the MLS Cup Championship game, it has to be done before Thanksgiving. Because usually around Thanksgiving, that's when NFL season starts to heat up. Like the months of September and October, yeah, NFL season is still popular, but the NFL season really starts to heat up during Thanksgiving Day. Because that's when we start to find out like who are the true contenders in the NFL around Thanksgiving time, the late November, early December. That's when the playoff contenders separate themselves from the teams that are not going to make the playoffs. So MLS, I know you cherish your Thanksgiving playoff game, but you might have to reconsider that now in order to enhance your relationship with the NFL so you can get the same power that they have in order for you to have your soccer-specific stadium in time for the 2026 World Cup. Because look, MLS. The 2026 World Cup is supposed to be your coming out party. The 2026 World Cup MLS is supposed to be the time where you show the world that you are a legitimate major professional soccer league. Having a World Cup game at Yankee Stadium, a baseball stadium, is unacceptable. You hosting a World Cup game at Yankee Stadium will cause you to be a laughingstock to the world. Then we get down to NYCFC. NYCFC, the New York City Football Club, they might have to consider a new ownership group. And here's why. You got City Football Group. 78% of City Football Group is owned by Abu Dhabi United Group. 13% of it is owned by China Media Capital and CITIC Capital. That's basically a China base. It's China. And then only 10% of City Football Group is owned by an American firm, which is Silver Lake. You see, NYCFC and MLS, that is a red flag. Because Abu Dhabi, Dubai and China, those are America's competitors. That is the Eastern power. You see, what Americans don't want to happen is NYCFC, you build a stadium in the city of New York while you are owned by Dubai and China, because this gives the Eastern power, this will This will create an avenue for the Eastern power to have a stronger foothold in the Western world. So you being owned by Dubai and China, it hurts you. It hurts your cause. It hurts your cause because, American politicians are thinking, we don't want to give China and Dubai, Eastern power, an advantage in the global capital of the world, or at least the global capital of the Western world, which is New York. The American powers, they're more friendly to the Buffalo Bills rather than you, NYCFC, because you're largely owned by Eastern powers. Listen, the Bills are getting their new stadium. The Bills are getting their $1 billion home because they're not owned by Dubai and China. The Yankees got their own home because they're not owned by Dubai or China. The same for the Knicks. The same for the New York Islanders. You see NYCFC. You see MLS. This is bigger than traditional football. This is bigger than rugby style football. This is about world domination. You can't have a major professional football stadium in the global capital of the world that is owned by China. MLS, NYCFC, the NFL has they're showing you what you need to do to get what you want. You can't be nice. And you need American. You can't have the competitors being the face of your organization because this is bigger than sports. The billionaires, they're on a big competition with each other. And one thing they don't want to do is give the Eastern power an advantage. NYCFC, Queensboro, they're getting their new stadium as they are led by an American majority owner. The Buffalo Bills, they're getting their new stadium as they are led by an American majority owner. NYCFC, you want a new stadium, but you are not led by an American majority owner. This is why you're losing NYCFC. This is why you're losing MLS. MLS, the clock is ticking and the time is not stopping. We got a big World Cup coming around the corner. The NFL and the USL have shown you what you need to do to get that major professional soccer stadium in New York City. Now the clock is on you, MLS. What you gonna do?